So to understand the context of heroes, you need to understand American history. The first part of this video will talk about things that probably you wouldn't want to mention in a literature exam answer, but it's probably useful to understand. The second part will be the stuff you directly want to mention in a context question in English literature. So, American history, well, Europeans land in America, and when they start to come across in large numbers, you've got to understand that a large majority of them are going there in order to escape Europe. They want to get away from Europe. There might be people who are being persecuted in Europe, like religious minorities. They might also be people like, say, the Irish, who are suffering from poverty and therefore wanted to come to America to have an opportunity. So most of the people coming from Europe are trying to get away from Europe. They don't like life in Europe. They want to come to this newly discovered continent, they see it as, and make a brand new start. And then when there are European problems, they don't want to get involved in them. And it's easy to do that. Nowadays, of course, it's a small world. We have jet travel. That doesn't develop for normal people. Well, to beg your pardon, doesn't develop at all until after the Second World War. And doesn't develop and become something normal people like you or I could use until the 1960s, really. So America is a long way away. My auntie emigrated to Canada, and when she came back, she had to come by boat. It took ages. When the American president, Abraham Lincoln, is assassinated in 1865, nobody in Europe knows about it for 3 whole weeks. Because the only way we can find out is for people to sail from America to Europe. So it took 3 weeks for us to know that the president had been assassinated. So that's the sense of isolation that America had. And it's also the sense of desire to be free from Europe's problems. When the First World War starts, remember, Heroes is set after the Second World War, but when the First World War starts, most American people say, well, that's why we left Europe, isn't it? Because European countries keep fighting against each other, and we're well out of that. We're glad we got away from that. They do join the war eventually, only because the Germans rather foolishly torpedo an American cruise liner. But until 1917, America is not in the war. So the first 3 years of the First World War, America does not join in. America does get involved after the war in trying to help Europe financially. And as a result, when the Wall Street crash happens and the American economy collapses, look at the Of Mice and Men contacts video for information on that, they pull all that back and say we should never got involved in Europe in the first place. They're a drain on our money. Let's just look after ourselves. So when the Second World War starts again, the American people feel they don't want to get involved. This is where now I think stuff that you can start to quote in English literature answers on heroes. The Second World War, at the start of it, the USA are not involved. They don't want to be involved again. They're saying Europe is a troubled place where we came here to get away from it, or our grandparents did, or great-great-grandparents, and we want nothing of it. Let them kill themselves. Let them fight each other in the Second World War. We don't care. Also, America felt very safe then. Okay, it's no longer, the communication's better. There are now telegraph lines under the ground, under the ocean, so there can be quicker communication, but still, it's not possible to travel quickly between America and Europe. Certainly not possible to send bombers from Europe to America, and certainly not possible for troops to be taken on ships across the Atlantic to America to make an attempt to invade America worthwhile. So America feels really, really safe. Canada to the north, absolutely no threat. Mexico to the south, the war in Mexico in 1900, didn't have to do it again. America feels completely safe. 2,000 miles in every direction before you really hit any land, if not more. So that's why Pearl Harbor is such a shock. So just to explain what Pearl Harbor is, one of the states of America is Hawaii. Now Hawaii is bang in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, a couple of thousand miles away from America. It's the main naval base for the American Pacific Fleet. And Japan want to dominate the Pacific. They join the war on Germany's side, and they decide to launch a surprise attack on Pearl Harbor. Their idea is logical. If you can hit Pearl Harbor, where the whole American fleet is for the Pacific, and destroy that fleet, America has no ships in the Pacific, can't control it, and then Japan can help itself going around all of the Pacific, taking complete control. Japan's already won a war against China and is in a powerful position. They launch the surprise attack, no one sees it coming, and they sink loads of ships, and this is a huge shock. Even though Hawaii is not mainland America, this is a massive shock to American people because they feel that their sense of innocence is gone. Now, obviously, you can link that to Heroes, can't you? The loss of innocence for Nicole, a loss of innocence as well for Francis. They come into the book as naive, happy youngsters, and then they grow up and see how horrible things can happen to them. So America goes through that process, goes from feeling completely safe and cocooned from all these horrible things happening in the world to being in danger, being attacked. It's a massive, massive shock for America when Pearl Harbor happens, and the Japanese are brave enough to attack America on American soil. You see this again in 2001 with the attack on the Twin Towers in New York. A shocking event anyway, but I think particularly for a country like America, who again feel that they may get involved in wars in other countries, but that sort of thing would never be brought onto American soil. Okay, back to Pearl Harbor. It doesn't work. Simply because the idea was good, but there's a problem. The Japanese intelligence has failed because they didn't realize that half the fleet was out on maneuvers. So they destroyed the ships that were in Pearl Harbor, but not the ones that were out in the ocean. So they destroyed half of the American fleet. So it's not a success. And America is able to join the war, firstly focusing on Europe, because President Roosevelt rightly sees that as the key conflict, and then turning their attention to Japan. But that loss of innocence, that sense that suddenly from being in a lovely, safe world to being in danger of attack, in danger of bad things happening, that's the key area of context. And American soldiers go, as I say, and fight in Europe, and that's what Francis and Larry do. Larry, I think, also fights in Asia, doesn't he, against the Japanese? And so that's basically the context of it.